Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Shivaya. Om Namah 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 Shivaya.
Welcome everyone to our webinar today, exploring Hindu philosophy through Shad Darshanas. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. In the meantime, please put in the chat where you're joining us from. Thank you.
Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Namah Shivaya.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, exploring Hindu philosophy through Shad Darshanas. My name is Shilpa Agarwal. I'm a fiction author and faculty at HUA, currently teaching a class, The Yoga of Motherhood. Our speaker today is Dr. Kalika Uttakar. Dr. Kalika completed her MA and PhD degrees in philosophy from the University of Pune. Dr. Kalika has also done her master's in psychotherapy and counseling. She has over 25 years of experience in teaching philosophy, conducting life skills, corporate training, and workshops for yoga and mental health. Currently based in Dallas, she works as a yoga and psychological counselor, motivational speaker, and runs a YouTube channel on parenting, relationships, and self-help. I'm going to put the link to the YouTube channel in the chat in just a moment. Dr. Kalika has presented papers on yoga, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads at various national and international seminars. She strives to study and share the intersection of Indian philosophy, yoga, and psychology to explore its relevance to human life in today's age. One of her passion projects was her doctoral thesis on the philosophy of life in reference to the major 11 Upanishads. Her expertise also includes naturopathy and neuro-linguistic programming. Welcome, Dr. Kalika. Welcome to today's webinar.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It is really humbling. Thank you.
And before you start, I'm just going to tell everyone I'm putting in the chat your YouTube channel link here.
Thank you.
There you go. And welcome to everybody from all around the world who has joined us today. So Dr. Kalika, I give it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So welcome everybody to the webinar. And thank you, Shilpa. So to begin with the webinar, this is a wonderful journey into the field of philosophy and especially Indian philosophy. So most of you who come to HOA and who attend the webinars, I really appreciate you all because you all are already into this journey of philosophy. You have been reading a lot, listening a lot, contemplating a lot. And I see that urge within everybody. Every time I take courses, I come across wonderful people who are so passionate and who have such a strong urge to dive into this field of philosophy. So this is our third course now. We are taking the course of Shad Darshana for the third time. And this is an amazing journey because this takes us back to the root of Indian philosophy, Hindu philosophy. So just to begin with, on a very simple note, we all know that where does philosophy start? Or rather, when does philosophy start? So we all go to school, we complete our education, we get into our occupation, so whatever we want to do, and then life just proceeds with the normal things like the schooling, the college, then the jobs, the business, kids, marriage, everything. It just goes on and on. At which point are we interested in philosophy is a very important thought which has to be considered. For some, it starts at a very early age. For some, it starts a bit later. And for some, it starts very late. But it doesn't matter when it starts. But the question is, why does it start? So just coming to a very basic understanding of life is that as long as we are happy, everything is fine. We don't need philosophy, isn't it? As long as we are getting good grades, school is fine. As long as we are getting good friends, and everything is fantastic. So if somebody comes and tells us, hey, you should look into philosophy, you should do some philosophical readings. We say, okay, I'll do that later. So my priority is different. Why? Because everything is going good. As long as you get the desired partner, and very rarely, but the partner is near to perfection, everything is fine. Then we aspire for kids. So as long as kids are young, it's fantastic because they listen to us. They think that we are gods. Then eventually they also grow up, and then the teenage factor starts, and they are growing as a personality. And then, yes, there is something happening within us. It's an amazing process for both the kids as well as parents. So life proceeds. But at which point are we thinking something different from the routine is where philosophy starts. And this starts when we come across various adversities. At the initial stage, we feel that adversity is part of life and I have to just overcome them and I have to be a strong person. That's fantastic. But in spite of working hard to overcome the adversities, sometimes it doesn't meet our expectation. Sometimes things don't happen our way, they happen the other way. So, this unfulfilled expectations keep piling. And then, at the time when you're in the middle age, they have a huge, it's a big pile. And then somewhere we need to think that, is this for what I was striving so hard from my childhood? Is this what I really wanted to gain? Is this what I really wanted to achieve? So, what is the goal of my life? Who am I? Where from I come? And then in the meantime, we are part of a certain religion, of a particular community, society. So we have been listening, reading, following certain things. But let me tell you, friends, the journey into Indian philosophy should not restrict us by the religion that we are following, by the sampradaya that we are associating with, by the thoughts that we like so much. Philosophy starts when we become undogmatic, a very clean slate, and do not stick to any prejudices. So that is the beauty of philosophy. And believe me, that's also the beauty of science. So science and philosophy at this level expect us to be absolutely open to knowledge, courageous to accept what is right, and courageous enough to leave what is not in sync with reality. So this courage and undogmatism is something which is the prerequisite to start any course. So, just moving ahead with this, I feel that when we study Shad darshana, this is the edifice, philosophical edifice of our whole journey. So it basically starts from Ved. Vedas are the most ancient scriptures and they are also called as Shruti. Shruti is one which is heard. So initially, this was a vocal tradition. So one after the other, it was not a written tradition. From that sense, it is, we have received this because some generations have just brought to us verbally. That is one aspect. But Shruti exactly means that when they received knowledge, it was when they heard about it. So when they realized it, that is the true meaning. So all that knowledge, which is part of Ved, Ved is to know, knowledge. Ved means knowledge. So knowledge is basically heard. It is not told by somebody. It is revealed. It is understood. It is experienced. If you remember, most of the scientists say that I have been working on this project, but actually one fine day, I just thought, it just came into my mind. So that point of revelation is something which is very interesting. How come knowledge is revealed? Then who are we? What is our connection with that knowledge? And whose knowledge? So these are very interesting questions which come in. So Shruti is basically the four Ved, and then the Vedanta, that is the Upanishads part of it. So Upanishad is the essence of Ved. Upanishad is the essence of knowledge. Upanishad is the essence of existence. So that is why it is called as Vedanta. So Shruti consists of Ved and Upanishads. Then based on this came Shruti, Smruti. Smruti is memory. So based on this, when this knowledge was told to the masses, when it was told to the layman, they had to be made interesting. They had to be put in a story format. And for that, they took help of the historical and analogical tools. And there we come across all the Puranas. These are the stories. These are the, some might argue this is history, some might say this is mythological. Now that is a very different dialogue that we can get into it. But I would say yes, it is part of history and told analogically, symbolically. So that is the beauty of it. And because this is a very old civilization, and there we find discussion about Sri Ram, we find discussion about Hanuman, we find discussion about Krishna. So all these characters come into this. So Purana, Ramayana, Mahabharata, this is all under the umbrella of Smritis. And then is the third aspect, which we say as darshana. Now, darshana is the scholarly extraction of the philosophy that was hidden in Upanishads and Ved. So then we come across this major 6 schools of Indian philosophy. That is Charvak is, okay, we start with Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. So these are theistic schools of Indian philosophy, and Charvak, Jainism and Buddhism, these are the atheistic. Now it is actually wrong to say theistic and atheistic because this has a different connotation. This has nothing to do with belief in God. This is basically called as heterodox and orthodox schools of philosophy, because the orthodox schools of philosophy believe in Ved, they believe in the testimony of Ved, and the heterodox schools of philosophy, they do not accept Ved as the authority, and that is why they are put into other. So the methodology of darshanas is basically Purva Paksha and Uttar Paksha, and there is an argument and then there is a counter argument. It goes in the form of a dialogue. And therefore, it becomes very important that along with the 6 darshanas, we also study Jainism, Buddhism, and Charvak. These are the heterodox schools of philosophy. So in this course, we will be studying this 9 schools of Indian philosophy. Now, what are we exactly going to study in this? Philosophy can be classified into 5 types. The one is the metaphysical aspect, other is the epistemological aspect, then is the logical aspect, and then is the ethical aspect, and then is the spiritual aspect. So now on these different fronts, what does each school of philosophy say? For example, what is metaphysics? Metaphysics is discussion about reality, creation, existence, who am I, where from I come. These are the questions they are tackled in. What is creation? How did it take place? So what does Nyaya school feel about creation? What does Samkhya school feel about creation? Who believes in God? Who does not believe in God? This is very interesting. Not all 6 schools believe in God. Okay. We might assume that because they are orthodox schools of philosophy, everybody believes in God. No, few of them don't believe. So that is an interesting part of the study. So this is the metaphysical aspect. Then comes the epistemological aspect. So epistemology is knowledge. It's about knowledge, science of knowledge. So knowledge has usually 3 components. One is the knower. So who is the knower? Then it is objects of knowledge. And then the third aspect is sources of knowledge. Supposingly, I am the knower, then this pen is the object of knowledge. And how do I perceive this pen? Through my sense organs. That is called perception. So that is one source of knowledge. So we have different sources of knowledge like perception, inference, comparison, testimony. intuition. So these are different sources of knowledge. So we will discuss each source of knowledge and how each school talks about this, how they decide about this. So Nyaya school is a very rigorous and a fantastic school which has developed hardcore logic for Indian philosophy. So that is also very interesting. And an answer to those people who say that Hinduism is all about superstition, Hinduism is all about faith. No, it has this foundation, Nyaya foundation, which is hardcore logic. And that is something which we will delve into. So that is the epistemological aspect of it. And of course, continuation to that is the logical aspect. So, and then, this how they place their arguments, how they counter argue with the theories of the other schools without any animosity, without any hatred, but a simple, pure academic endeavor. And that is beautiful to understand. So that is the major aspect. Then comes the ethical aspect, the theory of karma, and what is morality, and what actions are right, which actions are wrong, and why morality, and what will we achieve by pursuing this kind of morality. All that discussion is there. Where Charvak, who are materialist, they talk about morality. At the same time, Vedanta also talks about morality. In between, there are this 7 schools in between, total 9 schools. Everybody from India, they talk about morality. They believe in the theory of karma. And last but not least is the spiritual aspect. And that deals with the question, how do I overcome sorrow in my life? Sorrow which we experience because of the hardships that we are facing, because of the adversities that we are facing, because of the relational limitations that we experience, because of the unfulfilled expectations. So all that is there where a person feels that, see, that is a very simple saying which says that anukul vedanam sukham, pratikul vedanam dukham. So anukul vedanam, vedanam is sensation. Anukul Vedanam. So everything that is according to my expectation is sukha, is happiness. Pratikula, that is something which is against my expectations. Supposing I am going for a program and I am decked up, I have wore a very, very nice attire. I have, I just want to walk outside and just reach to the place, but it's raining heavily. So that rain becomes the source of my unhappiness. Oh, why it had to rain today? It shouldn't have rained today. Okay. So that becomes unhappiness. But supposingly, it's very humid, it's very hot, and the weather is not so good. And then you feel, oh my God, now it should rain so that everything will be so nice. There, rain is source of my happiness. So that same rain is sometimes source of unhappiness, sometimes source of happiness. That all depends upon my expectation. So how to overcome this is the spiritual aspect of philosophy. So the Shad Darshanas will discuss about all these 6 aspects. So this is the main thing. Now, are they okay, I'll get into slides and then discuss the topic. So I'll just share the screen. Why is it not happening?
It was showing. I saw it.
It was showing? Okay.
Yes.
Give me a second. Okay. Yes. Okay, so the first question is, what does darshana mean and how is it different or similar to the concept of philosophy? So philosophy is usually understood as philologos, that is love for knowledge. So this is more of an intellectual pursuit, finding out what is the reality, and most of the Western philosophy comes under this umbrella. And it is an interesting process where we come up with different questions, we analyze them, we try to understand the meaning of concepts, try to understand the facts. So it's all philosophizing is the process, which is more of an intellectual thing. Now, when we come to darshana, darshana is a Sanskrit word which comes from the root drusha. Drusha is to see. So, seeing in Indian context has a wider meaning. Initially, we will understand seeing as looking, perceiving. Okay, a very normal experience that we all experience every moment. Seeing. This is different. Seeing is on two levels. One is seeing that which is outside me, and one is seeing that is within me. And that is the experience of seeing. That is drushti, which can be a little bit translated as perspective about reality, about myself. Now, even perspective is more of an intellectual thing. So here seeing is experiencing reality, trying to understand reality. So darshana has a little wider term. So that kind of discussion we come across when we study darshana. So this is specific to Indian philosophy, that Indian philosophy or Hindu philosophy is not about having an intellectual, it's not an intellectual gym to say. Just to sharpen my logical skills and to sharpen my analytical skills and all that, but it is more of a means to realize reality, to understand and experience reality. And therefore, we have this darshan, which is yoga darshan. So, even if you are liking Vedanta darshan, even if you are liking Samkhya darshan, and even if you are into Mimamsa, but practicality of behavior and understanding and mental disposition is something which is the parameter to understand whether I have understood or not. Like, I have understood that I should be honest, but has this honesty developed into integrity? Is more of a spiritual question. Honesty is saying what is truth. Okay. And what is integrity? Integrity is behaving according to the truth even when nobody is watching me. So that is my value. That is my integrity. That come what may, I follow my values. And those are not for the sake of others. It is not about saying just what is truth, but it is following that. So that level of behavioral change, transformation is something which is expected in Indian philosophy. And of course, without that, one cannot proceed. Otherwise, that becomes a loop where intellectually people keep traveling round and round and round. And then at a point, nothing is clear. So meditation and all those students who have attended my Upanishad class know very well that all Vedanta has to be correlated and supported by our daily experience, meditation, understanding. So only then we can relate to that knowledge. So darshana has this wider meaning. Now the second question usually which comes up is, are the six darshanas contradictory or complementary to each other? So I would say in certain areas they differ, and in certain areas they agree. So one common area where they all agree is that they all look forward to the cessation of dukkha, cessation of sorrow. Everybody wants to overcome sorrow. That is one commonality. Second is they mostly all believe in the theory of karma. That is, when you do good, you get good. Very simplistic, but it is a very wider and a deeper concept which we will discuss in the class. But apparently, yes, they believe in this theory of karma. They are undogmatic, they are logically rigorous, and they might have different views about creation, about the existence of God. Nevertheless, they have this goal of liberation. But liberation according to each school is different. So that is interesting to understand. So there are few commonalities and few differences, but studying all of them helps us to understand reality as a whole, because these are different perspectives through which we understand reality. It is like when we are climbing a mountain and we start climbing, and then when we look down, supposingly there is a village next to the mountain, huge mountain. So we look, when we just start climbing the mountain, we look at the village, the perception is different. Slowly and gradually we still climb further and we look at the village, the view is little different. That continues, and then when you reach at the top of the mountain and you look at the village, the view is different. So these are different views that we will be looking at. Though everything is real, everything has its meaning. And once you complete the study of all these 9 darshanas, we are able to link them. And that is wonderful. So that is an activity that we will be doing, how these different darshanas can be linked together and form a composite understanding of reality. Are these philosophical systems sequential to each other, or do they concurrently exist? Now, considering the timeline, which is explained, is something between 500 BC to 400 AD. Now, this timeline is controversial. Should we really believe in this kind of a timeline? I would not go into that. Philosophically, I would like to put it as these are different perceptions about reality. So when Charvak talks about materialism, I wouldn't say that Charvaks never existed at the time of Ved and Upanishad. These are temperaments. These are the ways human beings understand reality. So materialism, Charvakism existed even then. Look at them as different offshoots of human intellect to perceive reality. So when we talk about Nyaya Darshan, they talk about logic, they talk about inference. And why not? That is the major tool that we all have as human beings. And that is how we perceive knowledge, we perceive reality. So all these, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, some talk about dualism, some talk about single reality. So they exist, I feel, concurrently, but different acharyas who came up can have their own timeline, and they have formulated it. They have, like Patanjali Rishi has formulated Yoga Shastra in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, that can have a timeline. But that doesn't mean that yoga didn't exist before Patanjali. Yoga exists right from Upanishad. Shveta Upanishad talks a lot about yoga. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad talks, Chandogya Upanishad has discussions about this. Yajnavalkya Rishi talks about it. So all these schools of philosophy, I feel that these are different perceptions, perspectives. In some form or the other, they existed. But later on, different acharyas, as they came up, they gave a scholarly, a structure to it, and then they came up with it as a darshan. But just going little deeper, and if we see into the whole process, these are philosophical perspectives. So let us think about it as this, and that will really help us. Now, let us try to understand which are the Astik and the Nastik Darshana. So, Nyaya, Vaisheshik, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. These are Astik Darshanas, that is the orthodox schools of philosophy. They believe in the authority of Ved, and that is why they are called as Astik Darshan. Nastik Darshan, mostly we talk about these three because they are very strong darshanas. Charvak Darshan, which is also called as Lokayat Darshan. Lokayat is that thought which is amongst the people. So even today, Charvak is the most strong and popular darshan that exists. And that in today's language, we can call it as materialism. Then comes Jainism. They have their own metaphysics, they have their own ethical understanding, a different epistemology. Buddhism is, as you know, a very developed school of philosophy, and it also has a strong metaphysics and epistemology. Ethical strength is very high in Buddhism. So these are the 9 schools of philosophy. Starting with Nyaya, Nyaya founder is Rishi Gautama, and this has 528 sutra, and it believes that the ultimate goal of human life is to remove ignorance, and because that is the cause of suffering, and understand and realize knowledge. And what is the source of that? They believe in inference. Of course, they believe in other sources of knowledge also, but inference is the major tool. And there is another offshoot which we will not take because that requires a very thorough understanding of Nyaya, that is Navya Nyaya. So that is a very rigorous logical field. If somebody is really interested, that is amazing. If somebody wants to study, so that is a further development of Nyaya Shastra. Though here we will concentrate on the Nyaya because that is the foundational darshan. Then coming to Samkhya. Samkhya founder is Kapila Muni, and Samkhya Sutras consist of 526 sutras. Ishwar Krishna has written a commentary on this. The major concepts of Samkhya Darshan, as you well know, is Purusha and Prakriti. So they say that this whole world consists of these two main elements, that is the Purusha and the Prakriti, where Vedantis say that Brahman is real and Maya is this whole world. So these are two different theories. Whereas they believe only in Brahman as the ultimate reality, Sankhya believe in Purusha and Prakriti as these two main elements. And of course, the concept of Trigunas, which come in Sankhya, is very interesting, and it has a wider impact in our philosophy, religion, culture. They talk about Trigunas, that is the Sattva, Raja, and Tama. These are the three gunas, and it is very interesting on all levels how these three aspects work. So even in Bhagavad Gita, we come across Sattvika Sampatti, Rajasika Sampatti, and Tamasika Sampatti. So what is Sattva, Raja, and Tama? And we find people having these three kinds of temperaments. Rather, each person has this in different ratio. Somebody is more Rajasic, little less Sattvic, little less Tamasic. Some is more Sattvika, then Rajasika. So each person will, it's like kaleidoscope. Each person is different with different ratios. Similarly, Ayurveda has also picked up this concept where Sattva, Raja, and Tama is also a very basic concept of even Ayurveda also. So Kapha, Pitta, Vata, that is how they discuss about it. So that decides the type of a personality. This is very interesting. Then comes Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika basically was founded by Rishi Kanada. Kana is atom. So they talk about this whole world as a combination of atoms. Thereby it is called Padarthavad. And they say that world is divided into atoms or Parmanu, classified as material or Padartha. They accept God as an intelligent being. Even Nyaya accepts God. Coming to yoga, as you all know, we will delve into the philosophical aspect of yoga. There are 196 sutras, and eightfold path of moksha, that is Ashtanga Yoga, is suggested in yoga. We will discuss it in detail. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. These are the eightfold path. So they also associate with Samkhya for their metaphysics. Rather, there is also an Advaitic interpretation of yoga. Either ways, it works. This is basically the practical aspect of whatever is Hindu philosophy. So one is the intellectual aspect, and this is practical, where you actually learn to meditate, and then how to conduct myself, what kind of actions and how I should do. So yoga is a major part of it. Coming to Mimamsa, Rishi Jaimini, he came up with Mimamsa sutras. They are 2500 sutra. According to them, this world is real, as we see. There is a soul which survives the death of the body, enjoys fruits of karma in heaven. This is a realistic philosophy. They believe in rituals, and they believe in the ultimate authority of Veda. This is also a very interesting darshana, and which has even today a large impact in Hinduism. And then last but not least comes the Uttar Mimamsa or Vedanta, as we say. So Vedanta basically consists of Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, and Bhagavad Gita. They are called as Prasthanatrayi. All this together is Vedanta. And the founder of Brahma Sutra is Badarayana Rishi. And the commentaries are written by Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya. So Shankaracharya talks about Advaita Vedanta, Brahma Satyam. That is his theory. Only Brahma is Satya, Jagan Mithya. So in the due course, we will learn what does Mithya mean, what does Maya mean, what is the exact meaning of that, and what does Shankaracharya mean by saying Brahma Satyam, what is Brahman. So that is about Advaita Vedanta. Then we will have discussion about Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya is an very great saint of an acharya in India who also came up with, he tried to bring this Vedanta into, including faith and devotion. He tried to popularize it amongst everybody. And he comes with Vishishta Advait theory. So that's also is also having a major impact as we see in the society. We will discuss that. And of course, Madhvacharya came up with Dvaitavad. He talks about pluralism. So Vedanta is not just Advaita Vedanta. Vedanta includes Advaita Vedanta, Vishishta Advait, and Dvaitavad. These are major. There are other 6-7 schools, sampradayas also, which talk about Vedanta in a different way. But as we will have time constraint, because we will be having 11 classes in all, 11 weeks. So primarily we have selected these. So apart from this, we will discuss Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvak. So in all, we will be discussing this 9 schools of Hindu philosophy. Then how is the course structured? What will students get from this course? So this course is structured for 11 weeks. Every week we will be meeting for 90 minutes. 60 minutes will be presentation, 30 minutes will be discussion, Q&A. And there will be a PPT. And so first 60 minutes will be the PPT presentation and explanation about it, of course. So you will have this information with you also, which will be in a consolidated form. We will also let you know the textbooks which are assigned to it, and you will get some reading before every class, which will not be more than 15 to 20 pages. So that is something which you will have to invest other than the class. Then at the end of the class, there will be an assessment where you will have to write an essay on a topic related to these subjects, and that will be assessed. So that is about our course, Shad Darshana. And I think I'm open for Q&A now.
Thank you, Dr. Kalika. Thank you. If you want to stop sharing, then we can start taking some of the questions.
Yes.
Great. We have some questions, but I want to actually start with a question that I have, which is, you've taught this course before at HUA, and it's been quite a popular course. And I'm just wondering, what have you seen in your students in terms of their ahas, or where they are in their journey from the start of this class to the end? Could you just share your kind of reflections on that?
Yes. So what I have seen is most of the students that come to this course, they have already taken few courses in HUA, other courses. If not, they are well read into Vedanta or Madhvacharya or Ramanujacharya. So they come with that background. Nevertheless, they are curious to understand the philosophical aspect of what is the base of all this. What is, so they are very interested in understanding the epistemology, metaphysics of it, and the discussions become very interesting. And at the end of the class, they get a complete picture of Hindu philosophy. They are introduced to that. So that is a takeaway. And if we ask a question like, why study Shad Darshan? Then I feel it is our duty to study Shad Darshan, being a Hindu or being a student of philosophy all over the world, because this is something which forms the foundation of philosophical thought process. So we develop an undogmatic, a logical, analytical, rigorous mindset through which we start looking at each school of philosophy globally. And then that gives us a very strong footing. So that is something students have often shared with me, that they develop a perception which is much wider and undogmatic. At the same time, they learn so many things. And then they say, we never thought that Charvak was a school of philosophy. They say that we never thought that Vaisheshika was there, and who are talking about atoms and padartha. So to find that even Indian culture had this rigorous background and development of thought is again very satisfying. So yeah, it is a challenging, not very hard course, but it is also very interesting. It helps a lot. It will help you in all the courses that you take in HUA later, because it forms the foundation. That's why this is the core course for our certificate course also.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm just putting in the chat the days that this is going to be offered, the summer 2023, starting July 14th, every Friday, 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's a link there that you can join. I'm also going to launch the poll. So in the meantime, while we take the questions, if you could just answer the poll, that would be great. So we get a sense of who's interested in the course. Again, it's been a very popular course here. Dr. Kalika is an incredible instructor and has so much knowledge to share. And so, if you're thinking about taking the course, I would recommend plunging in and doing it. So let's go to some of the questions. Let's start with the first one here.
I'm not sure in the participants today, if somebody is my earlier student, if they want to share something, they can feel free.
Yes, absolutely. I can make them a panelist if they would like to. If they just raise their hand, then I can see them.
Yes.
And I can make them a panelist and they can talk.
If some of them are there, then you can share your experiences so that other people will also be motivated to take it. You can share it in the chat, and then Shilpa can take it ahead.
Yes, if you'd like to share, just raise your hand and we can get to you and promote you to panelist and have you share with everyone. So please do that so I can know who you are. In the meantime, Dr. Kalika, are you, can we go through some of the questions?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the first question is, where would you place the grammarians? Would you consider them as a darshana?
Okay, so grammarians are basically, it is Vyakarana. So that is part of Hindu philosophy, but that would not become a darshana. It is a part of methodology. So Vyakarana is the basic methodology that one requires if one is to study Sanskrit and philosophy through Sanskrit. So that is the major aspect of learning Indian philosophy. So grammarians are not called as darshanik. Darshanik is basically philosophical, and grammar is Vyakarana is more of language. So that is a part of important methodology. Though we have a very developed Vyakaran Shastra in India, and that again is so beautiful that it is in some way connected to philosophy. Like any word we take in Sanskrit becomes philosophical. So the moment we utter any Sanskrit word, and if you know the etymology and the grammar of it, then you automatically start talking about philosophy. So that deep is our grammar, Vyakarana. Yes.
Wonderful. Ravindra ji, are you one of Dr. Kalika's students? If so, I'm promoting you to a panelist right now. Are you there? Okay, we'll wait until they show up. In the meantime, we'll go to another question. I understood that darshana means perspectives or views of truth as opposed to being the truth itself, meaning that the different views are not the absolute truth, but are perspectives or paths. Is this accurate?
Yes. No scientist claims that I'm talking the truth and there is nothing beyond this. If he says, he is not a scientist. Similarly, a philosopher will never claim that I am telling the truth and this is final. He will say, I am talking one way, one perspective about the truth. But the important thing is, even if you think about Upanishads or Vedanta, and if they say that Brahma Satyam, then should you agree with that? They say don't agree with that. Just because we are telling. What you can do is you practice, do sadhana, and then experience it for yourself. And only then you will truly believe. So Indian philosophy goes hand in hand with experience and knowledge. So that way, but nobody claims that this is the only way, because climbing a mountain can be done from n number all directions. So truth can be reached from different directions.
Wonderful, thank you. Here's another question. Please give your understanding of the importance of keeping the Hindu connection, because in the modern yoga movement, Hindu yoga movement, there is reference to the yoga darshanas and only one small part, and deny any Hindu connection.
Yes, I really don't understand why people don't want to acknowledge. It's like saying I am born, but I don't have a mother. Is it logical? To say that yoga is part of Hindu philosophy, how does it hurt somebody? Why can't we acknowledge from where it comes? Because Yoga Shastra comes from Upanishads. It comes from the Shruti, Smruti, and the Darshan aspect of it. Now, the practical aspect of yoga can be called as mindfulness, can be called in different terminologies. I say that is fine as long as we acknowledge its origin. So why should we really feel bad about acknowledging it? Because that is the fact. Facts cannot be changed. So whether you call it Hindu or non-Hindu, I would say it is part of Upanishads. It is part of Yoga Sutra. So that is how it has to be understood. And it has to be projected that way. I say that I am Indian, but somebody asks me, how come you are an Indian? Then I say, no, I will not talk further. Why? I should talk about from where I come. I should talk if I'm an American. I should say my mother is an American. I'm born here, or whatever it is. Everybody has right to explain the origin. I mean, should be proud about it and accept each other's origin. Why not in knowledge?
Great, thank you. Also, can you draw any reference between Shanmukhananta, Anatta Muruga as the inspiration behind these 6 orthodox systems of Hindu philosophy? Thank you for your wisdom.
Yeah, sure. I think this discussion can be conducted when we conduct our classes. So this can be an elaborate. I take your question. So if we happen to meet in the class, we can surely have a discussion on this, because this will take a lot of time. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So a question to get a little more background on Samkhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Darshanas. I don't know if you have time to go into that, but maybe that's more for the class. Up to you. It's not a specific question about any of them.
Yes, of course. We will start with the background and the details of every darshan that we will be discussing. So looking forward to have this kind of discussions, and we will surely talk about this.
Okay. When did Murti Puja arise? Is it in original Shad Darshana?
Okay, so Murti Puja is part of the Bhakti Sampradaya which came in. So when we talk about Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and their interpretation of Upanishads, we can have this discussion. So that is an implication of Vishishta Advaita, because they added devotion into it. And there the discussion came up with Saguna Upasana in contrast to Nirguna Upasana. So we will have a nice discussion about this. So Murti Puja is also understood differently in different time and different periods. And it has different meanings attached to it. So that's also a discussion. We can have it in the class. Yeah.
Wonderful. Next question. Can you comment on the biodiversity of our intellectual ecosystem, specifically how you see psychology as applied philosophy?
Okay, that's a nice question. Currently, we are working, I'm working with few people in India where we are coming up with some books on Indian psychology. And it is very interesting. I would like to share it with you that these days in India, there is a movement where they are trying to bring in all the Indian sciences into curriculum, the college and the school curriculums. So psychology as it was taught in India so far was all Western psychology that it is. Now they are trying to find out if it has any connection to Patanjali Yoga Sutra, if it has any connection to Upanishads, if it has any connection to Bhagavad Gita. So this is like, some people are saying that all Indian philosophy is Indian psychology. Whereas some scholars are saying that no, we will have to find a demarcating line between where philosophy ends and psychology starts, or where psychology ends and philosophy starts. So psychology has to be redefined when we take it in terms of Indian psychology. And then psychology, as we understand from Western perspective, has its different strength in methodology. And when we look at the similar things from Indian perspective, it is more of an philosophical pursuit, but it has an application into psychology. So as scholars of philosophy and psychology, we will have to find out this way to bring in the application mode of Indian philosophy and how much of it can be put under the umbrella of psychology. So this has just begun. So it's a lot of work has to be done in this, and the process is on. People are working. Yeah, but I like this trend now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Karma tells us about the consequences of actions. How are these consequences evaluated in terms of good and bad? Could you please address this aspect of ethics?
Okay. Now this opens up the discussion about intrinsic morality and extrinsic morality as it comes in the Western philosophy. Coming in relation with the Indian perspective, it is believed that all the karma that I am doing will have an effect. Every cause has an effect. And the effect depends on the intention behind my karma. So if my intention is good, then that karma is good. Now, good and bad can be understood when it becomes a normative aspect of it. It just do's and don'ts. Should I wear this kind of attire or should I wear another kind of attire? Today, something would be right. 50 years back, it would not have been right. All that is right today might not be that interesting 25 years later. So these things keep changing. These are customary morality part of it. Do's and don'ts are relative. They will change according to the geography, culture, language. It will keep changing. But there are certain values which are intrinsic. And if we understand the concept of dharma from Indian context, it says dharayati dharma. That which sustains is dharma. In yoga also, when we talk about the 8 aspects of it, yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana. This dharana comes. So dharana also is sustaining. So that which helps to sustain yourself, sustain the society, sustain the structure, sustain the ecology, sustain this planet, sustain integrity, sustain happiness, that is good. That is intrinsic morality. Further, we can discuss in the class, but this is something where ethics is understood in its core. So why be moral is the question that is to be discussed here. Why morality? So for some, morality is just because the society should operate. Then it comes to legal morality and things, then religious morality and all that. But there is intrinsic morality. Innate, inherently, certain things. That also comes when we understand the concept of Rit in Mimamsa. Rit is the cosmic moral law. So we will discuss that also. That which sustains the moral order in the world. And what is that? That is very subtle. That's very interesting. So thank you for this question. We can have a detailed discussion later.
Wonderful, wonderful, great question. Here's another great question. When we look at the beginnings and history of the Darshanas, do you see the role of women in these philosophies?
Okay, so see, what I can say is that the role of women can be seen in Upanishads. It can be seen in Ved. It is seen amongst few scholars which we come across while we are studying. But if from the modern perspective, if we are trying to just find out how many women were there, was it woman-centric, was it not, how important were women, this is a different perception that we are bringing in. But if we see the philosophical aspect of it, men and women were not considered to be different and intellectually at par. And there is no disrespect, disregard. All these things comes when it comes in, we see it in social behavior. Now, social behavior has different motivations. There is a power game in that. There is a innate human tendency to manipulate, human tendency to establish things. And the whole dynamism between men and women interaction change. So philosophically, they were never considered to be different. Even in Upanishads, Gargi, Maitreyi are the references which we often come. There is a dialogue between Rishi Yajnavalkya and Gargi, Rishi Yajnavalkya and his wife Maitreyi, and very much on the equal ground they are discussing. We also come across practice at that period of time where girls were given freedom to choose their life between two tracks. One track is to become a yogini, and the other track is to become a grihasti. So a girl who aspires to have a family, build relationships, and enjoy a family life was married off. Okay, and the girl who was interested into intellectual pursuits, intellectual development, she was never forced to get married. She lived a life of that kind. So giving this freedom, I feel, was so significant. It's like today, if our daughter says that, Mom, I'm not going to get married, I just want to continue with my career. How many moms are still ready for that? But this civilization had this understanding that marriage is not all. It is the individual pursuit that is very important. And if this girl is so driven to develop herself into that direction, she was free to do that. So this is very significant. From this perspective, we can imagine so many good things about the civilization. But there is a huge gap between the Vedic Upanishadic period and then the development of the actual period of this acharyas when it was developed. So it kept changing based on the geographical, political situations that took place in the land. So that is a different topic altogether. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, here's a question. You spoke about the various darshanacharya. Have you come across Padyaha?
Bhadresha Swami of BAPS, Swami Narayan Samstha.
Yes.
He recently published a bhashya on Prasthanatrayi and Akshar Purushottam Darshan. It is accepted by all acharyas across India. Have you come across this? Frankly, I haven't come across this, but looks interesting. Now that you have suggested, I'll look into it, but looks interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. Could you speak to the process of integrating all these various philosophies? There are many different paradigms and views.
Yes. See, while we think about the process, the course basically allots us 90 minutes for one darshana. Okay. So historically, these darshanas were studied for 12 years in Varanasi. And it was a very detailed study about all the darshanas, though their focus used to be on one darshana. So that deep can be the study. Now, because this is an introductory course, what we can do is, first we will try to understand the philosophical basics of that darshana, and based on that we will try to find out the similarities between different darshanas and the similarity between their attempt to understand the reality. But my request is that sometimes, it happens that if I'm talking about Shankaracharya, and when I'm discussing his perspective, somebody from Ramanujacharya tradition might feel hurt about it. So I would request, keep everything back. Just come with a plain slate, because this is a philosophical process. Do not bring your emotions into it. Do not bring into your personal likings and attachments with this, because this is studying. Okay, this is knowing. So let us be open and dogmatic to know different perspectives, and then later on try to relate it with whatever we believe in, whatever we like to believe in, and which is normal. Everybody would like to believe in different perspectives and aspects. But in this class, we will try to find out the similarities and differences. And then it's a process. So by the end of the course, the same question I asked to my students, and then they gave a different answer. So let us wait for that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So we're at the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. Are you okay taking these 3 last questions, and then we'll have
Sure.
Ravindra's share? Sounds good? Okay. So today we can read research papers by taking the definition of a term from a different school and apply the same in other schools. For example, the definition of dharma taken from Purva Mimamsa and applied to Vedanta and vice versa. How do you rate this research trend?
Yes. So, see, basically, there is no watertight compartment difference between all these darshanas. If you see, the methodology of Nyaya school is accepted by Mimamsa, it is accepted by Vaisheshika, it is accepted even by Vedanta, because it is their epistemology is accepted as a methodology. So they don't have this hardcore thing. Like if you're talking about dharma, dharma is not just a property of Mimamsakas, though they have elaborately spoken about it. It is a huge civilization which has come from thousands of years together. And intellectually, as today we are sitting and discussing, people have been doing this since the beginning. It's basically knowledge. So dharma, understood from an Advaitic perspective, will add a different angle to it. From Nyaya perspective, will add a different angle to it. And that will, of course, enrich us. So if it is taken from this pure understanding, it is fine. But if it is just taken to prove something, negate something, establish, it's like taking patents. This is a modern concept. If you see that earlier in Sanskrit literature, they never even wrote their names. So it was just a pursuit of knowledge. There is so much of literature which is anonymous. The rishis have not given even their names. So that is a culture where knowledge was prime. Accepting the authorities of Ved is accepting that knowledge is the ultimate goal of life. So that way it has to be understood, which is what I feel.
Beautiful. Do you see a role of the caste system in philosophy?
Caste system is more a part of sociology and human psychology and the power dynamics and the political intervention into it. Philosophically, in Indian philosophy, see, there is an Upanishad called Vajrasuchika Upanishad. It has an elaborate, now we are going to come up with this course. We had 2 courses on Introduction to Upanishad Part 1 and Part 2, where we took the 11 Upanishads and we tried to study them. We are coming up with the 3rd part, which is going to take into consideration few other Upanishads, which are not so popular, but they are very significant and very much relevant to today. So this Vajrasuchika Upanishad has an elaborate discussion about what is Kshatriya, what is Brahmana, what is Vaishya, what is Shudra. And there, this discussion is amazing. This is basically not understood in the later parts, and then it has different connotations. So philosophically, nobody talks about any kind of hierarchy or any kind of differentiation. Every single human being has the right for knowledge and ability to know. That is philosophical. When it comes to the later part of human life, certain things keep coming in and out, and the influences change.
Wonderful. Thank you. Last question here. Can you recommend some good books on this subject?
Sure. When once you are into the course, we will give you all the references. Just apparently, I can tell there is this writer, Hiriyanna, Surendranath Dasgupta, and Radha Krishnan. So we will tell you about some of the books, of course, and then we can start the whole process of knowing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So Ravindra, are you there? I'm allowing you to talk. Can you join us, please? You have to unmute.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Ravindraji. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. No, I was just saying the Vyakaran is the Vedanga.
Yes.
So
It is one amongst the 6 Vedangas.
And in that way, the whole system can be explained.
Yes.
The,
Of course. Yes.
Vedas, Vedangas, Upanishads, Darshanas and Upavedas. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, well, I'm not a great scholar, but this is what I understand about this.
Yes, I agree with you. That is absolutely correct. But that is a different way of understanding, because Vyakarana doesn't come singularly. It comes with Nirukta. It comes with Chanda.
Yes.
So that is Chanda, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Kalpa. All this comes together. Okay, so that is a different way of understanding, because that is a pre-requirement to understand Ved. But when it comes to darshana, it is more of a conceptual understanding of philosophy. And
yes, correct. You're right.
Philosophical discussion. So that's the reason Vyakaran is not part of darshan, though Vedangas are important. And because that also comes along with other 5 Vedangas.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for being part of our webinar. Dr. Kalika, any final words that you would like to share before we close?
Sure. Thank you everybody for taking out your time on Saturday mornings and spending it with us. And I'm looking forward to meet you all. And I'm sure we will have a wonderful discussion and an absolute learning experience. I'm eager to meet all these intellectual minds and also eager to learn from you. So it's like the Indian core of knowledge is having dialogue and learning from each other. So see you soon, everybody. And thank you, Shilpa, so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us on this weekend, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Dr. Kalika. You are just a wonderful, wonderful speaker. So impressive, Dr. Kalika.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.